gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
You're listening to the House of Cards on Facebook, YouTube, and BigPatriotRadio.com. All licenses for music and content have been purchased by and are for the express written use of Big Patriot Radio Networks. All information, opinions, and topics are for entertainment purposes only and do not expressly represent the opinions of the show's host and or producer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Introducing to you.
You're on House of Cards, live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down now.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome, everyone. It is, what is today? Today's the 12th. It's the 12th, middle of June almost already. Glad to have everybody here with me tonight. I am Mike Covert, your host, and with coming to you live from the Big Patriot Radio Studios here in the great state of South Carolina. Welcome to everyone watching in on YouTube and Facebook. Several, like multiple tens of folks right now chiming in on BigPatriotRadio.com. That'll pick up here real quickly. And don't forget, you can watch this on a delay. You just go to Facebook or YouTube. It's stored on Facebook for 30 days. And it's stored on YouTube for, I'm assuming, indefinite. I really have never looked, never really thought about it. But they're out there for you to take a look at. Let's see what we got going on here tonight. Don't forget BigPatriotRadio.com. If you haven't tuned in, be sure to do so. It's the all-new digital broadcasting. You know, legacy radio is a dying breed. The old days of the DJ, running the morning show, folks like, the Grease Man, DC 101, those days are gone. They are winding down quickly and everything is moving to digital broadcast. So check us out, BigPatriotRadio.com. That's where you'll find blues, news, country pop, and classic rock all on the same station, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 5 nights a week. We do have podcasts on Monday nights at 7 and 9. The New America Movement on Wednesday. Corey Allen and the Overton Report at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock hour. Thursday night right here. We're having our show simulcast. Saturdays at 7 o'clock is Southern Sense Radio Show. And at on Sunday, rather, at 7 o'clock also. It is Culture Crossroads and the BEK TV Network with Andrew Southwick, and that is on BigPatriotRadio.com. Don't forget, we're trying to reach our goal of 4,000 stars tonight. Come on, help us out if you can. We appreciate everybody who donates and contributes to the show. If you want to do something through Venmo, if you feel better about that, our Venmo code is coming coming across your screen right now. Again, that's what helps keeps this thing moving. We appreciate you and for everything that you do to help keep this going. All right, number one song last week was Up Around the Bend by CCR. That's Creedence Clearwater Revival, or Survival, rather, if nobody, Creedence Clearwater Revival, blah, blah. If you were born after probably 1980, you have no idea what we're talking about. So for those that do, cheers. Here's to a little bit of CCR. Bluffton, Hilton Head Island, and Lexington, South Carolina were the number one listening cities last week, with Tallahassee, Florida. Don't believe I've ever called Tallahassee, Florida out on here. But that's what they're saying. Tallahassee, Florida, Somerville, rounding out the top 5.
Bringing you the best selection of hits for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
BigPatriotRadio.com.
And don't forget, we want to hear from you, however you're listening to us, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or what have you. Just go into your comment section. Let us hear from you. Where are you from? What's on your mind? You've got a comment about what we're talking about or something that we're not yet talking about. Just let us know, and hey, we'll get to it. Great show for you tonight. Last week's show we had to do in two separate parts. We've had storms like every day here in this part of South Carolina. And as some of you who, if you're around here, you know that the internet is, don't want to name any names, but less than stellar. Maybe I'll just say this, that it makes you seriously think about Starlink. Put it that way. Anyway, we had to do it in two separate like starts, if you will, because of the internet, and it was out for a while. Talked to a lot of folks, had several comments from some folks who said they couldn't find either the very first part of the show, so they caught it, we were probably 20 minutes in or something like that. Anyway, they were curious as what were we talking about. So I thought I'll just do that part over again. The intro and the message, it still applies, still apropos, and it's still just as important, if not more, this week, and it will be so next week. So anyway, I've said this many times for the past several years, but it reaffirmed it again this week, and within the last several weeks. It seems like every week that goes by, this is what I'm getting ready to tell you, it just reaffirms itself again and again and again. I put it out there again to the Beaufort County Council, Beaufort County School Board. I mean, hey, if you're in Jasper County Council. If you're listening in Greenville, Greenville County Council. If you're in Hampton Roads or Norfolk, Virginia, the Norfolk City Council. I'll put it out there to all of you. Quite frankly, anyone on any council this is for, if you have the bravado, if you have the honesty and integrity, some people would call it, if you have a set of balls, if you have that honesty and integrity to sign a pledge, to take a pledge of simple, easily written, understood statement for your constituents. In short, the pledge would read something like this. I signed this back in 2018. I was already on council that's when I signed this, in 2018. In short, it says, I pledge to not vote for any tax increase without removing a tax of equal or greater value. And that's taking out a bunch of words, slimming that down. That's the meat of the sandwich. In short. Now, the Beaufort County Council and Beaufort County School Board, for that matter, if you watch, and I encourage you to watch their committees. I encourage you to watch their council and commission or trustee meetings. They are constantly, especially this time of year, because it is budget season, they're tipping their hats to the thought of, quote, we aren't raising the millage. We're not costing you any more money. We're not raising your taxes. And, start printing the re-election campaign. I didn't raise your taxes. When really, ladies and gentlemen, that is a smokescreen. Some people are starting to catch on to this. Even in the legacy media, I've started seeing them in some words they're using and interviews they're doing. I see this is starting to catch on. So, I know it takes y'all a while. So I'm glad to help you with this. They're finally catching on to the smokescreen. If you are a political person on any of these boards, these commissions, and you claim to be a Republican, and I'm talking to Republicans namely because we tend to be the ones who say, hey, I'm going to cut your taxes. You don't normally hear a Democrat say, I'm going to cut your taxes and no more new taxes and no more spending. That's not their genre. So I'm mainly speaking to Republicans or maybe midstream Democrats. I don't know, independents. At least for those who, when you run for office and you're wanting to vote and you're wanting that money, that's when you come out and say, I'm not voting for taxes. I will not raise your taxes. You know how the game's played. old and new play that game. Matter of fact, the simplest form, ladies and gentlemen, of showing your integrity, if you're an elected, from not even doing it, from actually not voting for that, if that's the most important, but to sign a pledge. That gives the citizens who you work for, that gives the citizens the ability to hold you accountable. If you are a elected official of anything, water and soil and water conservation board, the coroner's office board, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? I mean, how big, how small, it doesn't matter. It's all important. If you're an elected official, you asked for a vote, then you need to be held accountable. And if you don't want to be held accountable, you're not doing this for the right reason. You know that, and I know that. The people need to be able to hold you accountable. And that's not a bad thing. Because when you don't vote for that tax increase, you can fall back and say, I did what I told you I would do. That's a good thing. When you cut waste, fraud, and abuse that we hear about, you can fall back on that and see, this is what I told you I would do. Now, if you want to sign a pledge to say, I haven't found a tax I haven't wanted to sign yet, by all means, sign it so we can hold you accountable. By God, he did. He said he was going to sign, he was going to raise taxes, and he sure as shit did. County council, at least here in Beaufort County, and for the majority, South Carolina in general, county councils are amused with themselves that they haven't raised the millage. And I'm specifically talking about right here in the back door, in the backyard, out the back door, for the budget they just finally approved last reading. Again, smoke and mirrors. If they want to be honest, it was smoke and mirrors, because ad valorem taxes are level, while enterprise funds and outside tax resources such as special tax districts and special tax funds, things along those notes, have increased, and they are increasing. If they tell you they're not, that is a flat out false statement. They are increasing. Island Packet, Beaufort Gazette, case in point, had an article the other day, talked about the increase in these enterprise funds, special tax districts, special tax funds, special projects, all that kind of stuff. They mentioned that. That's a tax increase. Okay? So some politicians, some county council members, some school board members, if they know what they're doing, will say, that doesn't matter. That's just the 6%ers. That doesn't matter. It's the 4%ers that we're concerned about. We told them we're not going to raise taxes. Well, no, you didn't. It was a flat out, I am not raising your taxes, is what is said. So, BS, it doesn't matter. It does matter. You're either an honest politician or you're not. You're either going to not raise taxes without getting rid of existing taxes, waste, etc., or you are. It's simple. It's very, very simple. Very simple, people. It's a very easily understood process. Now, I do want to be clear. There are services that this county, there are services that, Jasper County, Charleston County, Greenville County, Lexington County, insert county here. There are services that these counties must provide and they must pay for. They must be paid for, and they are paying for them with our tax dollars. That has to happen. I have always said that county councils, county commissions, boards of supervisors, it's the most, the Republicans in them are they have the most socialist job in the area, because they are providing services, whether it be solid waste collection, stormwater, airports, drug and alcohol abuse, aging, disabilities and special needs. Pick any. It's providing a service which is socialized government. Anyway, it must be paid for. I understand that. I recognize that. Everyone should understand and recognize that there are things that have to happen and they have to be paid for, and they're paid for by us, not by the government. The government may use, or not may, the government uses your money, but you pay for it. Okay? The government doesn't pay for anything. They're just a conduit. They bring the money in, they send the money out. We have a roads and a transportation problem in this county. Anybody that wants to argue that, please let me know. I'll bring you on and we can talk about it. But we have a roads and transportation problem in this county, a very serious one that must be reckoned with. While these 11 people on Beaufort County Council can't really agree on the time of day or what color grass is supposed to be, the traffic snarls continue. You can see it in the people's behavior at the grocery store. You can see it in their behavior behind the wheel sitting next to you at a light. You can see it in the behavior, how the road rage is increasing. You can read about it on every social media platform there is. People are pissed. They're pissed. There's a problem. Instead of cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, aka fat, pork, whatever, they leave it there, and then they claim, and I'm going to quote Anna Marie Tabernick, County Council member from District 6, who has said multiple times, quote, either you vote for this sales tax referendum or we will be forced to raise your taxes. That's right. Now, she's a first-time Republican since she moved to South Carolina. In Ohio, she was a Democrat. So this whole thing about not raising taxes, maybe that's getting new. Maybe that's a new thing to her. But that's pretty much like in the Republican creed, we talk about, in conservatism, the whole, look it up in Merriam-Webster's dictionary. Conservatism, you don't raise taxes, you're conservative. You're kind of tight with money, we don't waste it. So I get it that may be a new philosophy, but that's what she said. Beaufort County is growing. We see it. We live it. I have been in every stretch of this county driving over the past, let's just call it the 100 days, if you will. Our own 100 days. Nowhere in the corners of this county, nowhere is it calm driving, with the exception of off the tourist trails on St. Helena. The roads are pretty calm. Towards the fields and the plantation fields of like tomatoes and all that. It's kind of calm. And in like Gardens, well, not even Gardens Corner, more like Dale Seabrook area, it can get Whale Branch. It's a little calm. It's calmer. Okay. If you want to look at calm, they're calm. Nowhere else is it calm. Council members in Beaufort County, Jasper County, Colleton County, whatever, they need you have to remember, ladies and gentlemen, the money that you play with is real. It really is money. It's not just digits on a spreadsheet. It's not Excel play money. It's not Monopoly. It's not crypto. It's real. Someone worked their ass off to get it to you. Someone, blood, sweat, and tears to get it there to you. It's our money. Use it. Council members, school board members, use it like it is your own, like you would with your own household budget. I assume, and that's not safe to do, but I assume that everyone on the county council and school board, no matter where you are, you operate off of budgets. Everybody's going to use a different kind, a different system, a different method, some more extravagant than others, but some form of one. You don't just throw the money to the wall and see what sticks. Why wouldn't you do that here in the county's expenditures, revenues and expenditures? Why would you not do that? And for those that are saying, well, they do that. They have these budget meetings. No. What they are doing is they're listening to the administration tell them They're telling them what they need to hear, not what they, want to hear or need to hear per se. It's what they need to tell them. It's what they want them to hear. I don't like using the word staff as you hear so many people do because, hey, Beaufort County's got like 1,100, 1,300 people working for them, and they're great. They're salt of the earth. They're fantastic people. Love them all. Met a ton of them. Spent the day with some in Public Works one time. Hell, I created a plan that the county still uses for trash pickup. Anyway, it's administration. That's where the problem is. And county council members, most, I don't know if it's school board, probably all. I don't know if they are ignorant or they don't care or they just don't know. I don't know what it is, but you leaving it to the administration to tell you this is what we recommend you do, right? And you say, boom, passed. That's not how this works. That's not how it's supposed to work. Use it like you would your own money. If you want something at your house and you can't afford it, you wait until you can. Some might say, well, you can put it on a credit card, apply for credit. Well, that's not very budget minded. That's probably the stupidest thing you could do. We all have done it. We all do it. Borrow to get something and then pay it off and end up paying more for it. I mean, if we all lived with the mindset of when I can afford it, I will buy it, we would all be much better off. I can admit that. Council members get into the position of just waiting for the administration to tell us, and we're going to follow their lead. I can't tell you how many times I've heard fellow council members in different counties, school board included, from different counties. As soon as administration tells us how they want to spend that money, we will get back to you. Not doing the work yourselves. You hear people, and I've talked to Representative Herb Kurzman about this and some others, that people complain about people in the State House not reading bills, people in the Senate not reading bills. And that also includes folks on county council and county school boards and town councils. Do you actually read what's being given to you, or do you just do the motion? Start behaving, these councils and commissions and boards, and start behaving like you're there being held accountable by the citizens. You're their mouthpiece. You're their spokesman. They voted, they trusted you. You're the go-between between them and the government. You're not there. If I had one piece of advice to tell Tabernick or Passament or McKellen or Glover, name any of them, my advice is you're not there for the government. You're there for you. In your district, you're there for your constituents. I've heard Dick Geyer, the chairman of the school board, actually say, was it last year, year two, or whatever it was ago, I am the government. No, you're not. You are the go-between. As a matter of fact, Colonel Geyer, you are the chairman. You are the figurehead of the body who speaks for the people to the government. How mixed up, how messed up are we? I will say there are some promising things that have happened as of late. Beaufort City Councilman Josh Scalati recently said no to their budget and asked for tens of thousands of dollars to be cut. I think it was $75,000, something like that. This was on the last reading. He spoke up and said, nope, I want to cut this, 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 and this. The mayor agreed. The other three on city council in the city of Beaufort did not. So it passed. In Port Royal, the mayor, Kevin Phillips, stepped up and said, budget hearings, budget passing, votes. Nope, let's cut this amount from the budget from this department. cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, fat, pork, whatever. The two of them or the three of them, I'll add the mayor of the city of Beaufort. He agreed. That's what they're supposed to do. Now, as a side note, it's interesting that from the city of Beaufort and the town of Port Royal, both items that were being brought up to be cut were the same thing. The egregious amount being paid to the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation, which, again, we had here last week as part one. Funny how all these things, these pieces of the pie, the puzzle, this big puzzle board starting to move into shape. We brought you part one. All of a sudden, there's two towns who have a movement to remove the money being spent to the egregious BCEDC. Now, that was part one of a multi-story that we told you about, so stay tuned. Don't forget, leave us your comments. We want to hear from you. Now, this week, the county council meeting, just 2 or 3 days ago, Monday night, I have to give props to both council members Tom Reitz and Logan Cunningham, as they were, and this is in my words, they were calling out bullshit where it was due on the county attorney, Brian Holbert. Cunningham asked Holbert why he was moving forward with something that council had already voted in the negative to not do. Why are you doing this? Reitz made it known that Holbert was either unable or unwilling, and those are exactly what he said, unable or unwilling to answer the hard questions. As their counsel, general counsel, he stepped aside and let a junior ACA, assistant county administrator, answer for him. I call out, again, every elected official who is going to be the one to come forward and publicly say, I will not vote for a tax increase without removing one or more equal to or greater in value. Who is it going to be? People in Columbia I have spoken with, this has gotten there. They're hearing about this. Yes, Beaufort County is on the butt end of a lot of jokes. Who is it going to be? What Republican is going to be the one to step out of line and actually align themselves with conservatism and cutting fat, cutting abuse, cutting fraud, cutting waste, rather than just raising taxes? Nobody on county council or school board or any of the municipalities has had the guts to come forward. Nobody. That is telling. That is hugely, bigly telling. The midterms, they're coming fast. Don't forget, they are coming fast. And I can tell you all, no matter where you are, what state you're in, there's 4 people in Omaha, whatever county that is that they're watching right now, whatever county that is, I can tell you there will be slates of candidates moving forward that will come forward if things don't change pretty quickly. It happened in 2022 here in Beaufort County. We all saw it. It happened then. It'll happen again in 2026.
Bringing you the best selection of hits for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
BigPatriotRadio.com.
All right, it is 7:30 on Beaufort County's House of Cards. Thursday, June 12th. I have a couple of stories for you this week. Not a long show at all. Part 2 of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation saga is still being written. There's still some fine points through research that are being done. So we're not going to go into that. That is a huge story. The information delivered has to be exact. We don't want to mess with that. That has to be on point. And so we'll get to that when we get to that. Fresh off the presses today is yesterday is the announcement just last evening from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Columbia that South Carolina House of Representatives member R.J. May, Republican from Lexington County, has now been arrested on federal charges stemming from a CSAM investigation. CSAM is known as child sexual abuse material. May has been indicted on 10 counts of distributing child sex material and faces 5 to 20 years in prison, 5 years supervised release, and $250,000 fine if convicted. Now, May, who's a 38-year-old, was shown on the Lexington County Sheriff's Department blotter as in custody with a, quote, hold for DUSM, end quote. Then the posting shortly thereafter was removed. DUSM stands for Deputy U.S. Marshal Service. Now, indictments for those things were released today. Last we heard, he was not afforded bond or bail, whichever that is. I guess you pay bail to get bond, I guess. Anyway, shows I haven't been in jail. Reports are that he is not afforded the ability to get released on bond. According to the state newspaper, May's arrest comes after months and months of speculation around political circles all across mainly South Carolina after a house on Lake Francis Drive in West Columbia in Lexington County belonging to May was searched last August on the 5th by agents of the Homeland Security Investigations Unit, a division of the Homeland Security Office. Seized while they were doing this was a laptop, a tablet, 4 cell phones, 4 hard drives, 4 SD cards, 2 rewritable DVDs, and 19 thumb drives. R.J. May is most known for starting the House Freedom Caucus as part of a movement for hardline conservative legislation to be passed in the South Carolina House. He often referred to members of the House GOP caucus as Republicans in name only, aka rhinos. During the most recent session of the South Carolina General Assembly, while May was present, he sat in the back of the House, largely was silent. Very seldom did he go to the well to speak on anything publicly. Late Wednesday, and that information comes to you from the state newspaper. Late Wednesday, after the news broke, House Freedom Caucus Chair Jordan Pace of Berkeley County wrote and said that May has been expelled as a member of the caucus, and the group, the Freedom Caucus, has called on him to resign.
Locked and loaded. Let's go. Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
I want to share something with you here real quick. You know, if you pay any attention to politics, Nancy Mace, Congresswoman Nancy Mace of the South Carolina 1st Congressional District, really never has, she's not known for a loss of words. Now, I know her personally, ran against her. She tells it like it is. And we have this is from today, the House Oversight Committee. I think she had 2 committee assignments that were having hearings, the House Oversight Committee and the Armed Services Committee. So I think she flip-flopped from one to the other. This was her getting to interview her round of question to Tampon Tim, Governor Tim Walz of the state of Minnesota. So let's bring that up. And I want you to hear this because it is hilarious. and I'll try to make it bigger. But take a listen. This is Representative Nancy Mace.
What is a woman? What is a woman is the question.
I'm not sure I understand the question here.
Well, that.
What do you want me to say?
I want you to say that a woman like me is an adult human female, that men can't become women. You guys are the party of violence, and you're the party erasing women. You don't respect us. You're a bigot. You're a misogynist. You're a sexist. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
You got to love it. You got to love it. I am, again, Nancy Mace, love her or like her or support her or not. She tells it like it is. And that was a mic drop moment for her and Governor Tim, whatever his name is. Anyway, we've seen all week long now, and unless you have been in a coma, approximately 6 days straight, protests in Los Angeles. Now spreading not only across the country, but also around the world. I saw a video earlier today from somewhere in Ireland. Some people were protesting about ICE, but whatever they called it over there. Well, the police got out with these water cannons, these big, enormous 5-ton, what we call 5-ton from the military, 5-ton trucks with these water hoses on them out of the front, and they were blasting people with water. They don't play. Anyway, what began as protesting against ICE raids and deportation of illegal immigrants to, as of late, people protesting Black Lives Matter, protesting Trump, protesting LGBTQ unfavorable behaviors from some people, protesting whatever the newest flavor of the day is. What began as this ICE protest has morphed into protesting about anything. Now, this channel supports the right of everyone in the United States to peacefully protest. Here in the USA, it's one of the rights we have as a free society. Try doing that. Try doing these protests in Cuba, China, Afghanistan, etc. You can't do that. They'll just simply kill you. You will just be erased from the earth. No questions asked. That's just how it is. You see, I say this a lot, I think. Here is the need for the necessity of definitions. This is why, like in the South Carolina Code of Laws, when they get to every act, the first few pages are about definitions. Define what you mean by XYZ. So definitions are very important. So let's go back to the necessity of definitions of peacefully protesting. According to, I picked one, study.com. Don't know anything about them, but I know it's one of the sites that has the ability to give you definitions and whatever. When asking the AI engine of study.com, the question was, what is considered peaceful protest? The answer, or the definition of that, came back as, quote, peaceful protests involve a large group of people engaging in nonviolent civil disobedience to enact political change. So obviously you can take that apart and you can go through each word and get a definition. I don't have time to go through all that today. I use specific ones. So I asked it what civil disobedience means, and please give me examples. It's kind of cool because, like, bam, came right back. Quote, acts of civil disobedience can take a variety of forms, including sit-ins, marches, boycotts, and public speeches. Those are forms of civil disobedience that are part of peaceful protesting that we have the ability, and we are afforded the ability to do as Americans. Again, we have definitions. Examples, we have context. Here is what's not part of a peaceful protest, according to the lookup. Graffiti, vandalism, Molotov cocktails, burning cars, looting, attacking authorities, breaking and entering, and other lawlessness. And that includes public buildings that are closed or off limits. Just because it's the county courthouse and it's the people's building, that doesn't give you the right to just break in there as you wish. Some people think that. Someone in my party believe that, and that is that's stupid. Just because, your tax dollars paid for the post office doesn't mean you get to go in there and at any time or with the door locked. That doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean you get to have, I pay for that police car. I want to drive it when no, it don't work that way. Believe me, there are some people who think that. Anyway, this is where the past 6 days have led us. Case in point, the robot taxi company, Waymo. I wasn't even aware of this. Waymo had 5 that we know of, 5 of its Jaguar I-Pace robo-taxis burned to a crisp, like burned to the ground. The only thing left was pieces of aluminum. That was it. I mean, everything else was burnt up. This happened in Los Angeles during these protests. Their price figure for the car and then all of the stuff that goes on these to make it a driverless robot taxi is $173,000 a piece, according to Waymo. That totals at least $865,000, not counting lost revenue because idiots thinking they can destroy anything in their path. I mean, what did Waymo do to them? Waymo's not a publicly not publicly owned. It's private. It's a private business. It's owned by Alphabet Inc., the parent company of Google. They make too much money. I'm burning this shit to the ground. You don't have a right to do that. Anyway, I digress. Businesses up and down the LA Strip and beyond have either had to pay for new storefront glass, people looting, breaking through the Adidas store is one of them that I saw, broke through the windows. There was a security guard in there, and he just stood there, probably saying, I don't get paid enough to get beat by a stick. I'm break it in, come on, which is what they did. So they've either had to pay to have that fixed or had to put up plywood to keep vandals and looters out. Those are unintended consequences and a loss of revenue. I saw one YouTube post from an independent streamer, had someone with their face covered, you call them a looter, a vandal, and he asked him, why are y'all breaking into the place? And this was the Adidas store. Or no, that was a bodega, like a bodega market. And this young male, he said, because we're owed this, man. These people owe us. These people owe us. Really, really. What you're owed is a swift ass beating. That's what you're owed. These people owe us. So let's take a look at the end of this complete shit show. The cast of characters. For those people who may have a disdain for ICE or the policy, yes, you have the right to protest. Absolutely. Peacefully. Whether or not I agree with your position, I agree that you have that right. You have the right to protest. I have the right to protest against your beliefs. But we see that as time has moved forward, these events evolve into something having nothing to do with ICE, having nothing to do with raids, deportations, the federal administration. We are owed this. Who says that? Is it only the uneducated? Is it the, poorly raised, lack of home training kind of youth? Is it gangbangers? Is it disgruntled workers? I mean, who the hell actually does and thinks this way. We are owed this, man. They got insurance. I've heard that during the last rounds of protests, of riots, rather. They got insurance. And they're not going to lose none. They got insurance. Do you think they don't pay for that insurance? You think you really don't pay? You pay for it in the price of goods going up. Maybe if you didn't break into their shit, the price of stuff wouldn't keep skyrocketing because they got to keep fixing the place. The cost of doing business goes up. In Los Angeles alone, since Saturday, when these protests began, over 400, and this was this morning when I had to keep this thing going, so I had to put a number in there, and I looked. It was over 400 people had been arrested, from unlawful assembly to vandalism, threats against a police officer. There was a whole slew of things. Most of them unlawful assembly, even arrested for having a Molotov cocktail. Over 400 in Los Angeles alone. According to LA news station KCRA, it's estimated another 37 cities across the USA have had protests in some fashion like Los Angeles, originating from the ICE protests. I found it interesting today on Capitol Hill, instead of talking about, because it was asked in both of those committees that I mentioned about the ICE protests, the governors that were there was Pritzker, Kami Pritzker from Chicago, Kathy Hochul from New York, and then Tampon Tim from Minnesota, and then somebody who was a comptroller of I don't know what state. She didn't say much. Anyway, even they went from ICE raids to it's because the federal agents are masked. They changed the dichotomy of this right before our eyes. They can't stay with a story and follow it through. They've changed it again. Federally elected officials haven't wasted an opportunity with this either. Did you hear about Maxine Waters? Yes, U.S. representative from California. Maxine Waters, the 86-year-old, 18-term congresswoman, ramped up her delusion, and it's nothing but delusion. She ramped it up a notch Tuesday when she told a group of the press corps, she said, quote, "There is no violence happening in Los Angeles." End quote. There is no violence happening in Los Angeles, she said. She's either delusional or she's lying, or maybe she is remaining, as the New York Post put it, blissfully unaware. I'm going to start using that. Probably shouldn't call somebody ignorant, even though I call it like I see it. That's what people elected me on, is that I don't hold back. I tell it like I see it. But maybe I should say people are blissfully unaware instead of ignorant. What say you? Waters went on to murmur, quote, "Don't think somehow because they called out the National Guard there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know." End quote. From Maxine Waters, the 86-year-old, 18-term U.S. Congresswoman from California. Waters is obviously widely known for her gaslighting. But wait, there's more. Old Chuck Schumer and his New York colleague, Senator Schumer and House Rep Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic House Minority Leader, could not stay silent on this. They chimed in over and over about the White House. Jeffries stated that, quote, "The president, Donald J. Trump, the president is purposefully escalating tensions to distract the country from a volatile economy," end quote. Really, Hakeem? Really? How's your 401k doing, brother? How is your ETFs going? How's your crypto banging? He called the Trump administration a failed administration. Gee, that's exactly that being the Trump administration in its first 120 days or whatever, is exactly what the American majority sought after 4 years of Joe in the Hoe. Schumer asks, and he's done this so many times, and it's so ridiculous. He's blissfully, what was the word? Blissfully, whatever. He's asked, America, is this what you voted for? Not sure where he's intending to go with that now, but the majority of Americans answered that with abso-friggin-lutely. That's what I voted for. The majority of Americans feel that if you are here illegally, you need to be deported. That's a bad term. Okay, you need to be removed. That's too forceful. You need to be sent home. Especially if you are a criminal. Uncategorically, you should be deported immediately if you are a criminal. These protests, increasingly violent, if you've been watching, are expected to only grow as we get closer to Saturday. What's Saturday? Well, Saturday, across the country, if you haven't heard, there are going to be No Kings, Nokings, No Kings Day, or No Kings protests, officially known as the No Kings Day of Action. This event is scheduled in nearly 2,000 cities and towns across America. Here locally, Hilton Head, Bluffton, Beaufort, Savannah, Tybee, Charleston. All those places are going to have one or multiples. This rally, okay, these rallies, this anti-Kings, which, let's be serious, it's an anti-Trump, No Kings Day of Action, is a rally. Think about this. Put this up here in the cloud. These rallies coincide with Flag Day, June 14th. Not only is it Flag Day, it's also President Donald J. Trump's birthday, 79th birthday. And it coincides with the 250th birthday of the United States Army. And there's happened to be a parade planned for that birthday in Washington, D.C. You've got all of these buttons that are glowing red. No Kings protest, 2,000 cities across the country. Trump's birthday, U.S. Army parade in D.C. I mean, they're flashing all over the place. Flag Day. You got people who are wrapped up around the axles about Flag Day because that's either a white supremacy or an ultra nationalism. I guess if that's nationalism, and that's a bad thing because you celebrate our flag, sign me up to that list. Anyway, according to the nokings.org, and that is just like it sounds, No Kings, N-O, kings.org website, the day is to gather to remind President Trump and his enablers, you know, us, what was it that Clinton called us? What was it? Now, gosh, my brain. Anyway, whatever she called us, now we're enablers. This message: America has no king. We know that. You know that. We all know that. The organizer of this nationwide event is the group Indivisible. Was not aware of that until we put this story together. Indivisible. Now, I am very, very well aware of Indivisible. This group, this Indivisible, has clubs everywhere. I mean, they are everywhere. Here in Beaufort County, there are, Indivisible Beaufort, Indivisible Okeechobee, Indivisible Bluffton, Hilton Head. I mean, they're all over. I think Sun City may have its own now. Indivisible everything. They're all over the place. And here, they're nasty. They are very nasty. They're trolls. They're a mean, nasty set of trolls. That's not very nice of you. Well, there is nothing too low for them. I have seen it and I have witnessed it firsthand. here it is. I remember years ago going to an event when I was on county council in Hampton Hall, gated community in Bluffton. I remember going to the event to speak, and out front you have to. It's off the Buckwalter Parkway at the intersection of the Bluffton Parkway. There were about 50 of these indivisible people out there picketing, and they had their signs. Out. They weren't allowed in, but out front of the gated community. This was an event, if memory serves me right. I believe Lindsey Graham was also coming in, his later speaker. That's why they were there. I remember going, the traffic was bad. I had to sit there, and they're right there on the corner. They're on the side of the road. The several people in this indivisible bunch made direct eye contact with me. I mean, they were yelling things about how certain council members should die, how we are all traitors, how disgusting humans we really are, death to anyone associating with us. And this, I'm not making this up. This is not sensationalizing. This is not exaggerating. This is how they operate. We saw this the last couple of years. Avi Zalai and I, with the books issue in Beaufort County, actually her, I would say more than me. I mean, she was attacked by people in this group and other groups, but she was attacked. I mean, it was beyond nasty. It was vulgar. It was repulsive. It was uncategorically just beneath the trash can scum. Now, we will get to what the implications are going to be here locally in a second. But again, Saturday is Flag Day. Marks the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army. The Army is holding a military parade that will cross in front of Trump's viewing stand, and it's going to bisect the National Mall. So you can get a picture in your head, look online if you've never been there. But where Trump's stand is going to bisect the National Mall. There's expected to be 7,500 soldiers and 120 some odd vehicles, something like that. There's nothing concrete. Cost estimates have been anywhere from $16 million to $45 million. Why the spread? Well, because there's so many things involved, and yes, there are tanks that are going to be, and they're going to F up the roads. I mean, there's no doubt they're going to have to be repaved. So I mean, the costs are. I mean, it is a lot. Somewhere between $16 and $45 million. Trump actually wanted to have this type of parade in his first term, but if you go and look it up, you'll find that then Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis objected to it, saying he felt that it would politicize the military. Politicizing the military. I think the military is probably already well politicized. We can pretty much bank on that one. Indivisible, however, seems to believe that we live in a democracy. And they have come out and said in this No Kings website that this show of force is not democratic. So for those blissfully idiot people, I want to remind them we do not live in a democracy. We live in a representative republic. And yes, please use that. When you are talking to your indivisible friends or when they become apoplectic and go off the triggered end, hope you like that picture he had on the before the show. We don't live in a democracy, bro. We live in a representative republic. Just saying. Now, no, we don't normally have military parades. And I did happen to ask, well, why not? I mean, it's going to politicize the military. I mean, I think that's bullshit because it's already politicized all over the world. I mean, could it not be a show of national support? Oh, that's nationalism. Well, again, sign me up. I do know, after I looked it up, well, I do know from studying history that after every war we've had parades. World War II, World War I, there were parades, the New York ticker tape, those kind of parades. You don't know what I'm talking about? Look it up. That was celebrating the military, celebrating our nation, celebrating the flag, all those things the indivisibles and these far left liberal progressives don't want you to be able to do. Now, the last time we actually had a military parade, I had to look this up because I forgot about it, was in 1991. Celebrate. I can't believe that's like, what is that, 34 years ago now? Celebrating the end of the Gulf War and the victory in Operation Desert Storm. 8,800 troops were there, marching down Constitution Avenue, and there were over 200,000 spectators lining the streets of D.C. watching tanks, missile launchers, aircraft flyovers. So for Indivisible, I guess that's okay. If it wasn't Trump, and we all know that he is the real reason behind this, it's nothing more than Trump. It's also Trump's birthday, 79 years old. That just adds fuel to this fire. It's a kindling box right now. And you know what I told you about all these things happening on Saturday? I mean, it's glaring red. It's got pus coming out of it. It's starting to ignite. It's sad that there are people out there who just hate Donald J. Trump more than they love their own country. And it's being proven every single day, every single event. So now, 5 minutes after 8 here on BigPatriotRadio.com, Beaufort County's House of Cards. So now you see we have all these events going on. ICE protests, Trump protests, Army parade. All together, these ingredients can make a bad outcome. I'm afraid. The ingredients are all there. Here in Beaufort County, indivisible protests will be on public highways and will involve the usual flag and sign waving, honking of the horns, etc. There's hopefully none of that will get out of hand. Here in Bluffton, the Juneteenth celebration is also going on. Another event. I mean, it's like fireworks popping. And while that is a noble and fine event, I have no problem with that at all. Absolutely. Someone at the South Carolina Department of Transportation, along with Chief Babkowitz of the Bluffton PD and obviously City Council, thought it okay to close down May River Road from 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. downtown Bluffton Saturday for 9 hours. Traffic will be, when you get towards downtown, you're going to be rerouted over into, what is that called? Bluffton Park. And you're going to go back around and you're going to be rerouted, ironically, not that far where the No Kings protests are going to be held. And that's another one. Throw that in there. You're taking people pissed off because they want to go downtown, but they can't because a group wants to close off a main artery for 9 freaking hours. So they got to be rerouted, and they're going to be going out, and there's people there who hate their guts. I'm telling you, it's not good. It's not good. Now, the Juneteenth celebration, the Saturday event, will be held in the parking lot and the May River Road, right in front of well, we've talked about it widely here, the new restaurant and Gullah Museum, built by Councilwoman Bridget Fraser with her finance man, Billy Watterson of Watterson Brands. Oh, and let's not forget the hundreds of thousands of dollars you and me gave to them, you and I and your neighbors. We gave hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to Councilwoman Bridget Fraser and her finance guy, Waterson Brands, Billy Waterson, in the form of economic development from the BC EDC and John O'Toole. Oh my God, here it comes again. And not only them, but also the town of Bluffton gave her tax dollars to help build this. They didn't help me build my company. Did they help you build yours? Keep watching here for more on that and pay close attention. Please pay close attention to our ongoing series on the Economic Development Corporation, as that's where these funds start flowing from. After they flow out of your wallet, they flow from the BC EDC. Now, just for context, this is the same event, if I remember right, from last year, where we reported that a white female was asked to leave the food vendor area by the committee chair because she was, or committee appointee, because she was, quote, not a black vendor, and this is a black vendor event. Now, I don't tolerate racism. I don't tolerate racism in any form. Black towards white towards black, white towards Mexican, Hondurans towards Chinese. I don't tolerate any kind of racism. But this lady, and we reported on it, go back and watch the video, she was kicked out because she was white. She was selling some trinkets at a friend of hers food booth who she was working there with, black man. The committee appointed person said, and we've got the quote, you have to leave. You're not a black vendor. This is a black vendor event. So we'll see if this happens again this year. I do have a question, though, and I mean it in all sincerity. This question is for the town of Bluffton. When someone comes forward with a white food truck festival, with a Chinese food truck festival, with a Latino food truck festival, and asks for 50,000, 100,000, 75,000, 20,000. And once that road shut down, I do expect all of you, including you, Ms. Fraser, to say absolutely yes. Why? Why do I feel that way? Come a little bit closer, and I'll let you in on a little secret. You know that whole equity thing? That's what I'm talking about.
Bringing you the best selection of hits for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
BigPatriotRadio.com.
All right, so I say all of this to say, be very alert this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of crazy shit out there. A lot of crazy shit and even more crazy people. No matter what town you're in, maybe stay away from the protest area. Unless, of course, you like, stoking the fire or poking the bear. That really won't fix anything. People have a right to protest. Let them protest. If something gets out of hand, call the authorities. Okay? If you're in Beaufort County, just be alert. If you're in Bluffton, because of protest celebrations, all being intertwined via road rerouting, Saturday may be best just to stay at the pool. Just stay at the pool. Around the world, tensions have heated up to the point, and we're about quarter past, just about over with today. Tensions have heated up to the point where the U.S. government, if you didn't know this is breaking, has begun asking all non-essential staff from the embassies in Iraq to leave the country. They've also asked for families of service members in Bahrain and Kuwait to begin leaving as well. Last night, Israel released to the United States that it was now a full go for initiating a direct strike inside of Iran. At the same time that this was all happening, the number of EAM messages being broadcast spiked. EAM stands for Emergency Action Message, a pre-formatted urgent message used to communicate critical information during emergencies, particularly in the context of nuclear weapon command and control. These messages are generally broadcasted over frequency 11.175 kilohertz, sometimes using 8992 kilohertz, 4724 kilohertz, or 150116 kilohertz on the high-frequency global comm system. As a side note, if you'd like to hear these EAM messages, find a channel on YouTube that is always tuned into them. One I recommend is called War Watch Intel. War Watch Intel on YouTube. I know I'm kind of somewhat of a geek with that stuff. I actually keep it on in the background while I'm working during the day. So what do these messages mean? Well, this is going to sound weird, but we don't know. The coding is changed continually. However, for the people that have studied this and listened daily, there is some similarity to what's known as a Sky King message and how they're delivered, where they're delivered from. You can trace events that you hear about things that you hear about. You can trace it back to the news that you hear later. And if you can trace it back to a Sky King message, sort of work from there. It's very interesting. It'll give you a whole new perspective on like what's really going on and how much we really don't know.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
Last night, or in the actual wee hours of the morning here on the East Coast, Air India Flight 171 crashed approximately 5 minutes after takeoff in Ahmedabad, India, en route to London. Reportedly, this is the first crash of a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, unlike the much maligned 737-8 MAX Dreamliner from a few years ago. Everyone on board died, except one. Seated in row 11A, Ramesh Vishwaskumar, 38-year-old male from he's a Brit with, I guess, India heritage, assume, is being reported that he jumped from the plane. He jumped. This is from Reuters, from the Iran Observer. This is from the Himalayan News. This is from AP News. He jumped. He jumped from the frickin' plane. Now, there are pictures showing him conscious, walking around in a stupor, obviously injured. Pictures of him in the hospital. He jumped from the plane. So there are like hardly any details about this, but as I said in the title, damn, bro, you jumped from the plane? Talk about divine intervention. Oh, all I can think is the old boy must have said, y'all, I'm out. I'm not going down with this ship. Anyway, once again, I want to thank all of my researchers that we have here on Big Patriot Radio in Beaufort County's House of Cards. Researchers, investigators, writers, your work does not go unnoticed. Also, those folks who may not be doing research as such, but are there for support, we want to thank you as well. As a reminder, I do not, and I have never, and will not ever, give out my researchers or informants, etc., names, addresses, phone numbers, likenesses. We talked about that, what happened to a friend of mine a couple of years back. We don't do that. We never will. Never have, never will. Your story, no matter what it is, your story is safe here with the Beaufort County's House of Cards. You've been doing this a while. Tell us what your story is. It's safe here. No matter the outcome, your story is safe. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. We appreciate that. Again, try to help reach that 4,000 stars mark. That would be so awesome to help keep things moving along. You can do that on Facebook tonight. Venmo is right below us. You can check it out there. Go onto the Facebook right now before we end the show. Another 2 or 3 minutes when we get out of this segment. Give the stars to the show. We're going to keep bringing in new stories week after week after week. We're supposed to have this week. We were supposed to have an interview with who was it? Mark Lynch, U.S. Senate Republican candidate. But again, it seems these daily thunderstorms, internet outages, we couldn't tape that show. We're going to get him on here. Don't worry, we will. We're putting together part 2. Part 2 is being put together of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. You'll see where your tax dollars are going, how much of them are going, and to where. And are you getting ripped off? You might be surprised of the who, the where, the when. That's all involved. This is, give you a new saying, this is going to blow your mind. It's going to piss you off, and it's going to make you want to yell out loud. Until then, everyone be safe and watch your six.